Welcome everyone to Africam4Good, brought to you by explore.org. Thank you for joining us today, where we'll be having a little discussion on an ongoing conservation crisis, rhinos. Today I'm joined by the founder and CEO of Care4Wild, Petronel Nieuwoudt. It's a great pleasure to have her on the show today, as always, to discuss the amazing work that Care4Wild have been doing with rhinos here in Africa. Hi Petronel.
Hi Russell, thank you so much for inviting me, and I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about the rhinos here at Care4Wild.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show with us. So for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, you know what, some people will not know this, but you know, I grew up on a farm, and mom a teacher, dad a farmer, so I always had animals around me, always been in a situation with a very happy upbringing, and then studied a bit, you know, and then joined the Endangered Species Protection Unit. It's a specialized police unit that's actually doing the protection and all the cases, police cases surrounding rhino horn, ivory, working with crime syndicates, you know, plants as well, sea life as well. So I think it was from the beginning in me. And then I started a program that we teach people more on how to conserve these animals, because I didn't want to, you know, the crime side is very exciting, but I wanted to work with animals. I wanted to touch them and help them and doctor them and hand rear them, you know, and rehabilitate them back into the wild where they come from, in that habitat. So when I left the police, you know, and we started this program, eventually lead me to what I'm doing now near the Kruger National Park of South Africa. It's a very well-known, world-renowned park. I'm very proud of the park and what they've done. And then suddenly, you know, there was a massive onslaught on our rhinos in the world, I must say. So when they contact me and say, by then I had 2 other wildlife centers as well, started them up, you know, hand rearing cat species, antelope species, snakes, birds, you name it, giraffe, everything, you know. So then the first 2 rhinos came in, and I said, will I help them? And I said, yeah, why not? And I never ever thought it will become so many rhinos, you know. And before we know it, it was raining rhinos. So from there on, I would say from 2011, 12, we started Care4Wild as a name. But before then, it's already 20 to 30 years conservation background. I can carry on, but I think that's enough. We can have episode 2.
We could do that. I think that's sufficient. So Care4Wild basically started as a passion project, and then, as you say, just grew with the influx of rhinos that you were getting. You know, I think about for myself, when I started guiding around 2004 in safari, I was actually in the Natal area at a beautiful place called Pinda, and we used to see so many rhinos. You know, we would go out on drive and we would get you know, a crash of 5, 6, 7 white rhinos altogether. Black rhino we would see very often. And I remember when I first started guiding thinking, oh, rhinos, we see them all the time. Let's go look for something we're not going to find. Since then, I know, you know, things have changed significantly, and it happened so quickly. So you, as I said, pretty much around 2010, 2011, you really started getting this big influx of rhinos. And were they mainly orphaned rhinos? Where did they come from?
Yeah, and you know what happened normally is where a rhino mom or cow will be in the Kruger National Park or Greater Kruger, or on private land or provincial land, you know, poachers will come in and there's incursions, and the poachers will use very high caliber weapons, you know, hunting weapons, and then, you know, infiltrate the spark through maybe like yourself say, guides or rangers, or come in through fences, and then walk in with these guns, shoot the rhino, and hacks her horns off. But that's where the baby then stay behind. And because of predators, Wild also get animals in that's injured, because this baby will then try and stay with moms while the hyenas or the lions are then around this carcass because of the blood and so on. And then this horn will be removed, and the syndicate will then eventually sell this horn off to Vietnam or China. But to come back to the baby, we can't lose another animal. We have to then at least save this baby to make sure that there is a survival of the species and the DNA there. And that's where Care4Wild plays that immense important role, is then we rescue these babies and bring them to the safe haven here at Care4Wild, where we have then a specialized areas and a facility that's especially built to handle these mega herbivores.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, what a difficult job that must be. It must be hard to see some of them coming in that sort of state, for yourself. And I said a bit about how when I first started guiding where rhino numbers were. What's the current conservation status of rhinos in Africa?
Yeah, it's quite important for the listeners to realize, most of the rhino populations are found at the moment in South Africa. So 80% is basically in South Africa, and then also in the Kruger National Park in Mpumalanga area. And then it's Namibia, and then it's Zimbabwe and Kenya, and there's some in Uganda as well. But 96% of Africa's rhino population is found in South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. So if we then look at the numbers in Kruger as of February 2021, there's only 3,500 and about 50 left white rhinos. And then black is terribly, critically endangered. It's just over 2,270. So it's a very sad situation that if you, like you said, Russell, when you were driving, we were seeing rhinos. Remember, Kruger and those areas is 1 million hectares. They're as big as countries, as continents. They're massive, excessive conservation areas. So if they keep on losing rhinos like this, we won't have any rhinos left. So the current situation is in dire straits. Everyone needs to buy in to really start saving rhinos. I mean, black rhinos are critically endangered.
Yeah, as you say, I can't believe the numbers. As I say, when we first started, when I first started in this industry, and even for yourself, I'm sure you'll remember when you first started going to Kruger way back when we were kids, and you would see rhinos just about all the time, and you never really thought too much about it. It was always amazing to see, but you never thought that they would be in so much danger. So it's so important to keep focused, as you say, on these things. For Care4Wild, when one of these orphaned rhinos is found or a rhino is brought to you, what is the process from when a rhino arrives at Care4Wild?
Yeah, it's quite, at first it's exciting when you get a call and they're going to bring a rhino baby in, there's sadness and there's excitement at the same time, because normally the sadness comes in when you realize that this baby lost his mom under terrible conditions, and someone had to go and save it. So a helicopter pilot, there's a ranger involved, there's a veterinarian involved, and so on. And then suddenly you get a call, ETA, expecting time of arrival, and there's the chopper coming over. So what they will do, they will just put that baby in the back of the helicopter. So if people go on the website or see these babies on the camera, they were lucky. They had a helicopter ride, you know. But they were asleep, I must say. The veterinarian, normally specialized veterinarians using specialized chemical combinations to make it as comfortable and as easy for the baby to travel to us. And then as we waited for them, we have a specialized crate. We have drips ready, intravenous drips, because normally they're very dehydrated, hypoglycemic, so they like a patient in shock. I can't explain it differently to the listeners. They're really just animals in shock. A lot of the time haven't drank from mom, didn't eat anything, you know, cold, very cold, you know, and a lot of time injured. So if they're actually coming to us, you know, immediately put them drips, put a blindfold on to help with the stress levels, put earplugs in also for stress levels, and try and get them on a bottle as fast as possible, just to start a process so that we can introduce them to the other rhino orphans that's here at Care4Wild. So it's monitoring, observing, rhino paramedic work.
Wow, that's amazing. It must be really rewarding to start seeing some, you know, positive things coming through and those babies starting to feel more comfortable. You know, now that people can watch the live cameras at Care4Wild, what would you like people to know about the rhinos that they're seeing?
They must feel very privileged. They must feel empathy towards them. They must feel like they want to hold them and just comfort them and realize that these guys were, they were the team that survived, not necessarily a COVID. They survived much more, you know, and to just look at them with love in their eyes and think positive thoughts towards them, you know. To have them here is an absolute miracle. The fact that they survived what they went through is an absolute miracle. And for me, just to see them every day and to work with them is such a privilege. So they must enjoy what they do. They must realize that they can connect these animals. These animals can communicate. They're very sociable. Some of them is very playful. You know, they have specific personalities. So as the viewers get to know them, they will see, you know, Tom is playful. Ranger is really the ranger with fluffy ears. Cotton is the mom, the softer mom. So it's very easy for the viewers to fall in love with these babies that they're going to see.
That's awesome. So they all have names. They all have their own stories, of course. And like you say, there's different ways that we can identify them. How easy is it for us to be able to tell them apart? So you've got the ranger with fluffy ears. What were the other ones that you just mentioned?
There's Tom and Ranger, and there's little Anchor, you know, and Cotton. And Fred. So what I have to look for is they're different heights. They're standing different heights. So sometimes it will be very difficult to see because, you know, but some of them will get used to how the ears look like. So, you know, some is a little bit more fatter. Some have less hair on their tails. So it isn't easy. You know, black and white rhinos are basically all gray. So I think they must spend just much more time watching them, and then they will know who it is. And then, you know, we can show it out. But at first, I must say it will be difficult. But some are smaller and some are bigger. And they will definitely get used to a specific animal's personality. You know, some will enjoy the mud bath more. And some is just naughty and more aggressive and bull dominant behavior and so. But they have very sweet crush and they love each other dearly. So they have these specific ways that they sleep, the formation that they sleep in and so on, that the viewer will get used to when watching them.
Oh, that sounds so cool. I can't wait to get into it, and I can't wait for all the viewers to start watching them and getting to know them. Maybe we'll put out a little ID card to help everyone identify them a little better so we can get to know them. That'll be fun.
That will be a lot of fun, and we don't mind doing that. Yeah, we're on the bottles that they're drinking. Their names are on the bottles. So we must just zoom in. We must just zoom in and show them who's drinking from what bottle.
Excellent. Well, that's a nice way to get us started for sure. Petronel, so you guys are also involved in some community work, I believe, and when Care for Wild is involved with that community work. What are your current community projects that you're up to around the Rhino Sanctuary?
Yes, to work with rhinos or with wildlife, we have to understand that you have to take hands with your communities and have soft fences and have a very deep understanding of the needs there. And to work together is definitely to work towards a better future for rhinos and people, and the children, and our biodiversity and so on. So we realized very early in Care for Wild's life time that we have to spend much more time to build proper relationships with our communities and have projects that they will love. So we have soccer, we have netball, we have golf, believe it, and we do a farm, just a community farm, as well as vegetable farm. One is just to seedlings next to their houses. Others are also more a proper production vegetable and macadamia nut farm. So also visits to Care for Wild, and like Ferdy and the people that's working on the community project say, you can change the world with a soccer ball, and also something that we recently realized, and I would love to tell that to people, is remember, we always want to help with food, especially now with the pandemic, people losing their jobs and so on. But what we found as recent as 2 weeks ago is these people don't even have electricity. It's rural Africa, it's really rural Africa, very poor communities. So how will they make their food? They don't have electricity. There's no energy, There's no running water. So Care for Wild now, when we do debushing or alien invasive plant control and so on, we take the woods to these communities. And let me tell you, we really won hearts there when we actually also giving wood out, making sure that there's water and so on. So is to love your people, is to love the people from Africa, not always try and change them, but love them for what they can teach us about Africa, most definitely taking hands with them.
Amazing. Well, best of luck with that. And it sounds like a really great relationship that you have with those communities, and I hope that continues. As you say, it's when that works, it works for everyone, and it's always been the model that I've believed in throughout my career as a guide. So awesome. What do you find the most rewarding, or what are your most rewarding experiences at Care for Wild? What do you think?
I think if we can, we must rescue as much animals as possible. So if you rescue a baby, and you actually saved it, and it started to trust you when you give them milk, it is so rewarding to realize that this little baby is going to make it. This little one is going to be fine. This little one is on a journey. It's going to go out there someday, and being the rhino it must be. And then every day seeing them, it is, many days you walk down here and maybe a hard day in Africa or a hot day in Africa, but they bring a smile to your face every time. They call you, they know your smell, they know your voice, they let you run. So we love rhino here at Care for Wild. We a group of people that really are very, very passionate, and every day that we could save another animal, one animal at a time, it's rewarding to save them and to look after them.
Oh, I can't believe it. That sounds really great. I actually worked at a marine mammal rehabilitation center in the Middle East, and there was a young baby dugong that they brought in that we had to help hand rear, to bring it back from, as you say, or that trauma that it had gone through. It had lost its mom, and that bottle feeding, we had to get in the water and swim around in circles for hours while it was feeding. It was so rewarding. So I can absolutely understand that, Petronel. For the future, what are your hopes for Care for Wild? Where do you think things are going to go, and what do you think the future is for rhino conservation?
Rhino conservation is extremely important, and I think it must become a world effort to save rhinos as keystone species. So my vision is through explore to get as many people as possible to follow us and to see what we're doing and to teach them and engage with our community of listeners to tell them more about these rhinos, so that we know there is a future. There's a future for the people in Africa and the rhinos in Africa, most definitely. We do have more land, so if there's some of the people that's interested, we're busy with a bigger piece of land as well. So to have healthy animals in healthy ecosystems is the ultimate vision, because that's in supporting the conservation efforts of biodiversity. And as we all know, this is what we have to do. We have to look after biodiversity and Mother Earth as a whole. I want the world to buy in. This is my vision into conservation effort. If it's water, if it's the glaciers, if it's our oceans, we need to make an effort to look after these things. And when we make decisions, we need to keep in mind every time, we must think, what is the impact? What are we busy doing? It's for our children and for Mother Earth and our planet. So please buy into the vision of just looking after biodiversity in Mother Earth.
Thank you, Petronel. I couldn't agree more. That's some lovely words, and we love what you guys are doing over there at Care for Wild. We can't wait to keep our eyes on the camera. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great pleasure having you on the show, as I knew it would be. And I'm sure everyone will agree. We're so excited to watch those incredible rhinos on the live cams and witness your continued strides in rhino conservation here in Africa. So thank you, Petronel.
Thank you so much. And remember, September is Rhino Month and World Rhino Day coming up. So hearts and hands for rhinos. Thank you, Russell.
Thank you so much. And thank you, all of you, once again for joining us and for watching the show. Please join us again next week for Africam4Good, brought to you by explore.org. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to stay informed for any of our upcoming shows. But from all of us here, it's cheers for now.